All right, welcome to episode 25 of the Rainier Strength Pod. I am here with Joe Jackson, better wise known as Delco Jesus on Instagram, the man himself with a 2017 total that is 2,017 pounds at 308 with an 826 squat, 479 bench, and 744 deadlift. Now, not only is that a feat in itself, but it was done raw. So we're looking at a man here who has a multitude of raw power, and we're going to get into it, pro wrestling, all kinds of stuff. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk everything powerlifting and wrestling.
Right on, dude. So when I was looking over your Instagram, it looks like, if I'm not wrong, December 2025, you opened up as a coach. Is that correct?
Officially, it was word of mouth locally. Just because I don't believe in the whole posting on the story. I have X amount of spots. I believe in authenticity, so word of mouth. But after getting on Dave Tate's podcast and everything, I was like, all right, let me actually make a post about it. So yeah, that's why I made it official to the public.
Nice, dude. Yeah. So on the other side of things, man, how was that? How was Dave Tate's podcast? World renowned. It's immaculate. Dave Tate, a legend himself. What was it like being on that podcast? Was it like a holy shit, I made it type of moment, or what was the experience like for you?
Didn't feel real until I got there. And then I will be honest, there was a couple times like as he's talking to me face to face that like in my head I'm not daydreaming, but like I'm taking in what he's saying and I'm thinking, why does this look different from table talk? And then I'm like, oh, because I'm not watching it, I'm on it. It was kind of like I'm used to seeing the side angle of Dave, but I'm seeing him head on. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, oh wait, I'm in the actual elite FTS. So it was a cool experience. One of the best ones, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I could imagine it absolutely would be surreal, especially after, maybe listening to him like on a weekly basis, watching the show, and it's like you're here. So now it's like, holy shit, like I've arrived in a way. What made you get into the coaching realm of powerlifting as opposed to just staying a competitor?
So before I even started powerlifting, I was a personal trainer for retro fitness before COVID. But when COVID happened, the gym closed down for good, and I had to get just the next job I could, which was a desk job where I'm at now. But there's not a lot of gyms where I'm at that do like personal training that would have fit my lifestyle with powerlifting. That you don't get to pick your shifts. It's kind of like you have to do weekends or mornings, whatever they give you. So I just never got back into it. And then I get tunnel vision. I want to like, I have goals. So when I have my goals, I focus on that. It's hard for me to separate my time to give to others, but I've worked on that as I've grown. I've gotten better with it. So now it's more like, all right, I don't care if I'm in prep. I'll take on athletes and work with them best I can.
Yeah, the other thing about you being multidimensional is also you are important to the sport as you give back as a spotter loader, and a damn good one at that. I have an actual anecdotal testimonial from a dude that competed recently at the Arnold. It's up here. AJ, his handle is Hook Grip Pilot on Instagram, but he's a local guy up here, Washington, and he had nothing but good things to say about you. So tell me how important that is to you to give back to the sport in that way.
Man, the sport helped me through a lot. It's through family deaths, mental stuff, all that. So like the meets here when I first started, and I want to word this properly because I don't want to dig at any meet directors, but like the spotters weren't the best. And in the moment of competing, I'm not thinking about that. At least I wasn't. But then seeing it like handling or anything like that, I noticed how like the meet really decide the pace of the meet is on the spotters. Like making sure people are okay is on the spotters. And I was asked to do one for a USAPL meet in Philly. Um, and it was me, and I wasn't experienced, but I kind of had an idea from watching Garrett Fear actually spot and load. I saw how much difference it made by calling out everything. So I adopted that, and we did all right. Um, it was with people I didn't know, and then after that, he wanted me to come back, but I asked to bring my own people because what happened was we had to pick up a missed squat, and which the person, you should always be under when spotting, but sometimes depending on, especially if people are French low bar, which is why I hate French low bar, it's hard to get under them. So you have to grab the bar when you bring them in if you want to make sure they get in. And we did that, and he had the hooks in, and the person on my right smashed my hand in between the hooks and the bar, and didn't feel good. Uh, but after that, I was like, hey, let me just get my own crew, see people like that have spotted me in meets that I know can spot a local level meet. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And I love it, man. I think it's one of the things that keep me level headed, because seeing like new lifters hit PRs, it kind of brings me back to reality of why I'm in this, and makes me forget about, the politics and behind the curtain and all the shit that goes on. But
Yeah. Because there is a lot of that in the sport. You had recently a meet that was pretty controversial. Eric Bischoff used to say controversy creates cash, right? Which
Mhm.
in a way is true. That is a way to go and think about things. But at times you have meets that create maybe like a bad standard or sort of bad precedent for things like squat depth or other things like that, spotting and loading maybe. Now, do you think that that type of attention can be good for the sport? Because let's say someone sees something that went viral for maybe depth being just abysmal. And they
Mhm.
say, hey, what is this though? Like, yeah, everybody's making fun of this, but what is this? And as a byproduct of that, maybe they find out about Chuck Vogelpohl or West Side or some of these guys, and then they start to get into the sport. So do you think that overall the standards, there have been fluctuations in the standards since the inception of the sport? Do you think the
Mhm.
standards have got better or worse? Because I saw you comment in an interview on the standard of abs and just how it's like at the highest level, and everything I've seen from them is at the highest level. So, what do you think about the standards in the sport of powerlifting currently?
Currently, so I don't think they're as bad as some people think. I think it just gets amplified because of social media. You know, a meet happens, someone gets called on depth, and just like how we just said, well, Eric Bischoff, like controversy is cash. It's the same with, like, controversy is clicks. So if you post something that's controversial on social media, everyone's going to click on it and have their opinion. So if there's a high squat getting a good lift, especially a record, it's going to blow up. You're going to see that more than all the squats that were to standard, because it's like, oh, okay, that was the standard. You do a little comment, maybe not even comment, just like the post. But you see a squat that's high, everyone and their mother has an opinion. And I think we do have to call out bad judges and bad calls, but like, we're in this weird spot where like social media is able to overturn lifts, which I don't necessarily agree with, even though I agree that both of those times the lifts were high. Um, I think that sets like a tone of, if the mob gets mad enough, then something can be taken away, and I don't agree with that. But no, I think the standards are where they should be in the current state of powerlifting, but I think there is a lot of room for progress and growth.
I think too that if you have an environment where everyone is kind of like, for lack of a better term, kind of just like playing grab ass instead of actually holding themselves accountable and their peers holding them accountable for what they need to work on. I think that that creates a kind of like a Truman Show echo chamber where it gets really weird. And then when things are objectively bad, you have people defending these lifts, that are like objectively abysmal, even to like the average person. And
Yeah.
I think that creates kind of like a really weird environment in powerlifting.
Yeah, but powerlifting is a sport of pride and egos. So like, especially if you gotta think, the ones we see that are called as high are usually at a stage that's big, um, and they're either a world record or a crazy number for a weight class that's barely seen. So that if you take in perspective that person, right, wherever they lift locally, they're probably big dog, big fish. And they're not, like you said, they're in that echo chamber. They're not told they're squatting high. They're not told this, that, and third. Or if they are, you know, they see that they're the strongest in there. So they're like, whatever, you're just being a hater. So once they get to that stage, they're like, "Well, I made it to this stage and I deserve to be here." Rightfully so in a way. But when they don't hit depth or they do something that's controversial, they're going to get pushback because their ego's just taken over. And they only got there because of their ego. So it's kind of a double edged sword. Like to be the best, you have to have an ego, but you also got to check it if you're not lifting the standard.
I completely agree. And also with your open powerlifting, something that's interesting is your fluctuation in weight classes recently. It looks like 308 down to 242 plus. Now, what triggered that weight loss? Was it anything like, was there a pivotal point, or because you maintained a ton of strength with a pretty substantial amount of weight loss? So first, how did you do that? And second of all, what triggered that weight loss?
Well, we will be factual. That's just because how ABS has it. I'm still close to 308. It wasn't a
Okay.
huge. Uh, it kind of was. So really, I mean, if we're gonna be blunt, being single, like you have that happy weight in a relationship, and then once that's gone, you're like, I need to get rid of this. But between that and like, so when I tore my bicep at the first rumble and aggravated my lower back SI area, um, it was hard to do things. And then working, sitting for 8 hours, I got complacent, gained a lot of weight. I got up to like 330 again. So when I did the second rumble, like I've been dropping since that. So I was cutting down for the second rumble, Grand Prix, whatever the category was, and then now I'm still trying to drop. We want to get around like 285 area. That's where I'm strongest. So
In your post bicep tear, you made a video on Instagram, probably about 10, 11 minutes, talking about your mental health and
mhm.
how it had deteriorated at that point, and how important it is to amplify voices of people that necessarily like need help or need to, have those outlets before they go down that dark path that is completely irreparable. So, what was kind of crucial to you for substantiating coming back from that and elevating your mental health and being able to like preserve your mental health as you go along in powerlifting?
Two things that really got me to come back. Um, Number one is God. Uh, I, I follow him. Um, he's got me through a lot, and I think he's the only reason I'm able to do any of the things I'm doing. Because I'm not gonna lie, after powerlifting Monday through Friday, the last thing I want to do is spot and load every weekend. But it's almost been damn near every weekend. But yeah, it's just him, and then also just I'll have it's a sin, but the pride in me. I can't. I want to help people. I want to see people um, get through the tough times. The last thing I want to do is let my mind win with those thoughts, and then it's like all for vain. I try to help people, push people through, and then if I was to do that, what what do I have to show? What's the end of the tunnel? All the people that I may or may not have impacted, if they were to see that I finally was defeated, what's left for them? And I don't want to. I don't even want to have that as an idea. So I stopped being sorry for myself and just went back to it. And they're looking good for the most part. Some days bicep bugs me, but it's also called getting old. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very selfless thing to do. And speaking of the psychological aspect of the sport, you're taking big weights, man. You're a very strong fucking cat. You're taking big weights. Before you take these weights, how do you manage some of that, like maybe anxiety or nervousness or some of that byproduct once the reality starts to set in? Is it the adrenaline and the intensity that just takes over handling those heavy weights? Or like, how do you manage your mental aspect going into these huge meets?
Yeah. Well, so going into the meets, I'm a nutcase. I feel like I pay my coach for programming, but it's really just for meet day and leading up to it where I'm texting them at 2 a.m. and I'm like, well, if we do this, we might be able to, have this on the day, or I just get so in the numbers and in my head, which I try to tell all my clients not to. Don't be like me. Do what I say, not what I do. But I kind of get in a headspace of so when I first started getting to the bigger level, I've always been an intense lifter, but I saw Eddie Hall's documentary about the headspace he got himself in for that 1,000 pound pull or whatever, a 500 kilo pull, so 11
Hmm.
and some change. So I tried to like, I didn't go to no therapist or anything, but I tried to get in that headspace. Like, hey, this is do or die. You don't do this, it's done. Um, and it just developed into like an intensity where I turn it on and it's not me. Like you can't talk to me. I'm not having conversation. I'm seething. I'm thinking horrible things in my head and I'm while I'm thinking horrible things, I'm repeating, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the best. Like out loud to myself. Like I'll the 717 squat I just did, which first time I've touched seven in a couple of weeks. My squat's been we figured out it was just a small oversight on our end. But the whole time I'm just saying to myself, you're gonna win. You're gonna squat what you need to squat. You're gonna be remembered. And I just put the words of affirmation in and the intensity is turned on and I just that's all it is. I don't think about form. I don't think about anything. I just get under that bar and bring every ounce of intensity that I can to make sure it gets done.
Yeah, and I've talked about that before in previous episodes, the paralysis by analysis, where
Mhm.
people get under the bar, they go to squat, and it's like they're thinking so much about the variables, maybe like all kinds of cues that they're thinking of in their head, and they forget to just squat. It's like you forget that you've done this in the gym for how fucking long, and
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day, like I handled someone not that long ago in February at a meet, and he was a little bit nervous and whatnot, and I had to tell him, look, brother, we're just lifting weights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. Like, this is just another day in the gym. We've done this 100 times. Let's go do it again. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I look at it like I think being nervous is good because it means you want to be there. It means you want to do good. But it is like the reason for, in my mind, obviously outside of the actual muscle growth of, back downs and warm ups, those are your moments to think about form. Those are your moments to really hunker down and be like, okay, if you're supposed to hinge back before you squat, let me find the perfect moment, settle the bar, whatever you have to do. But in those maximal effort lifts, there should be no thinking. You should trust your body for the mind muscle connection to just know what to do. And if you do it long enough, you do. Um, I don't think there's a lot of people that are at the top level, and I might be speaking out of tongue for them, but I don't think majority of them think on the platform that you don't have time to. One, you have a minute. By the time you get under the bar, it's down to 30 seconds. I'm not smart enough to think of every cue in 30 seconds with 800 pounds on my back. I just trust God and do it. That's all I do, you know?
yeah.
But
And one thing that makes pro wrestling so awesome, there's a lot of things, especially back in the day, that made pro wrestling just excellent, is the rivalries, right? Two
mm,
guys jockeying for a position. And
yeah.
one thing that I gathered from your episode with Table Talk was your rivalry with Zeus.
hmm
Now, was that something that came organically, or did you kind of see him as more like adversarial? You kind of pick him out of a line, like this is the guy, and now it's time to go.
Okay.
And does that rivalry motivate you more than your pride, or would you say your pride motivates you more than the personal rivalry?
So the rivalry was it was just genuine. It came out of nowhere. It wasn't like, so I forget, I talked about it before, but the first American Pro, because again, I'm a mental case, I'm looking up every lifter. Like, if you're within my weight class, because even if you're under my weight class, I'm like, well, what if you move up a weight class on meet day? I want to know what you're doing, you know? And I looked up Zach Smith, and there's this Zach Smith. I don't know who he is. I can't find his Instagram, but dude squats like nine something, and he was doing crazy. I think his total was 2,200 or something. And I'm like, oh, I'm cooked. I'm going in American Pro 1 for second place in my weight class. I was like, all right, I'll do my best. And then, like, on meet day, I'm like, where is this guy? Like, who is he? And then I see it was him, like actual Zeus. I'm like, this dude's lifting these numbers. Like, and it wasn't in a disrespectful way. It was just like a not what I expected. And then I saw the openers on the lifting cast, and I'm like, this ain't the same guy. And then once the meet, so that's where my downfall is. Once the meet started, I don't care who you are, I'm not paying attention to you. Like, you could be uh, Denzel Washington or Brock Lesnar or anyone. You walk in on my meet, I don't recognize you or care who you are. Like, I'm just, let me do my thing. And then towards the end, my coach at the time, had my third attempt deadlift in, and he's like, "Do you want to win?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "If you want to win, you pull this." And I went out there and I ripped it. Loved the Kabuki bar, first of all. Ripped that 744 and saw, and I was like, let's go. Like, I was expecting just to do second, and then last deadlift, my coach was like, "Hey, if you pull this, you win." I'm like, "Well, I'm pulling it." But that's how it started. And then we became friends, Zeus and I. Um, and then we kind of like were back and forth because I'm a shit talker, wrestling fan. Like, I like talking shit. Like, if you're my boy, I'm gonna talk shit to you. And so we started just, back and forth making fun, and it just blew up. And we've just continued it for the love of the game, honestly.
Do you think that that's something that's missing from the sport? Because we did have it. At
Mhm.
various points throughout history, there has been like pretty damn good rivalries throughout the sport. Do you think that that's something powerlifting is missing? Do you think it's a little bit soft in the aspect of like people
Yeah.
just patting each other on the ass a little bit too much?
Yeah, I think one, it's definitely needed. Look, I love the sport. I can be at a meet for 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is, and I will have fun. But I know for the general population, it's boring. I get it. And if you look at anything, like any sport or any top athlete in a sport, they become that, yes, because of their talent, but because of their story. People get invested in the person and the character. And that's the only thing powerlifting is missing. Like, look, a lot of us do it because we're awkward, we're quiet, we're dealing with our own shit, and I get it. But like, if you want the sport, the athletes actually want the sport to grow and they're competing at the top level or going to, you need to do more than just lift weights. And you need to do more than just coach. And you need to do more than just giving back by roughing or spotting and loading. You have to make it an entertaining thing for people to want to see. Russ Swole is a great example. He was always doing YouTube videos. He was very big into like the vlogging of his gym sessions. And look where he's at. Like, he's one of the most known powerlifters there are. And it's deserved because of what he put in to draw people to his character. And that's what we need. You can't have just, and I'm not trying to throw shade at John Hack. John Hack's strongest of all time. People are going to watch him for his feats of strength, but they're not going to watch the meet to see how everyone else does because he's not talking shit. He's not trying to have any type of battles like he used to back in the day. And he earned the right not to. But the majority, if we want the sport to grow, there has to be some level of entertainment, whether that's, bickering back and forth with, and not in a mean way, but just a fun way, like with your competitors or just being a character. Like, I want to see the sport grow to the point where people can get paid, and there's no reason we can't. We just have to make it worth watching.
Yeah, and I completely agree, especially like I'm big on strongman too. I love that sport, and you have your people like that are just immaculate, right? Your Eddie Halls, your Brian Shaws, fucking Big Z, Marius Pujanowski. You have these characters, but when you zoom out and you look Eddie Hall is so alluring in so many ways, and
Mhm.
most of that is his character, and like I think that you're right. I think that's something that powerlifting is missing because, like, John Hack never has to say a word if he doesn't want to. But
Yeah.
imagine if he did, right?
Mhm.
Like, imagine if, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be very entertaining to hear some of that, maybe, or like just a little bit more, like you
Imagine
said.
imagine if John Hack walked into, like, a press conference for one of the ABS meets and pulled, like, a Randy Orton promo or a Triple H promo of how he is not gonna be stopped, and he will take everyone down, their mother, their father, their kid, don't matter. Like, people would be like, "Hold on," that would be the most watched thing on Instagram for a week, and people would be like, "What? What is he gonna do?" No way, because you're gonna have half the people that are gonna be like, "Yeah, he's gonna do that," and they're gonna watch to see him do that, and then you're gonna have half the people, "Fuck that guy. I wanna see him fail." And you know what? Just like Eric Bischoff said, good or bad, it's bringing in them dollars. So
Yep.
I say do it.
Yep, and I remember that the lore of 2009 Randy Orton is very real. I mean, when he broke into Triple H's house and threw him out of a window, I
Loved
mean,
it.
dude, like,
Loved it, man.
I mean, man, like I remember watching that WrestleMania 25, and I was in high school, and Triple H went over, and I was furious. I was a huge Randy Orton fan, and I was
Yeah.
pissed. But that whole thing, like with Legacy, and I mean, but like it got you invested in it. Like I was legitimately like pissed, like, because I was emotionally invested in this and what they were selling, right? I was buying what they were selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, it's sorry. It's like the ABS meet I'm about to do. Steffi Cohen's doing it. People are kind of like, why? Why would you allow this ABS and J? But it makes sense because one, she was acquitted. So regardless of what happened, right? I'm not saying anything is okay to touch a significant other
yeah,
physically, but there are people that hate her for that, and they're going to want to see her do bad, and they're going to watch. And then I mean, she has over 1 million followers, so she has people that still support her. They're going to be like, "Oh, I want to see her compete." It makes sense to have like that controversial character competing because at the end of the day, I mean, she's a character. If you look at her Instagram, she's just a character. It's all a character, but that's what we need.
yeah. And I think Abs is doing a great job of that, man. Like I saw a face off that they had. I mean, they're doing a really good job at highlighting the personalities of the lifters and encouraging them to bring that personality out. I think that Abs, as far as I'm concerned right now, as far as raw powerlifting goes, I think it's the most entertaining thing happening right now in raw powerlifting from a spectator point of view.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think other meets and federations will follow, which they need to. I mean, realistically, we shouldn't have multiple feds, but that we'd be here all night if we want to talk about that. But it is big of like we need to just start it. It's going to be awkward at first. There's going to be people that are going to try and fail, and I mean, that'll still make for good memes. But it we have to make a change, and ABS is trying to make that change, and it's I got to give kudos to them. Like I'm not. There are things that I don't agree with, but like the fact that they're trying and they're trying to do it here in the States when they're over in Ireland, which is just more of an expense, is like it really shows how much Jay and his people care about the sport, that they want to see it grow, that they are putting in so much money and hours to try to make this a thing. Um, so I do hope other feds start to try to follow suit because I think not that it'll necessarily be better than ABS, but federations here have a better chance at making it better, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like I think ABS can do great, and I expect them to still be a front runner. But if you have like PLU or even USPA, if one of them decide to make a change to be more like sports entertainment aspect, it could take off huge because they have all the resources here in the States. Like if Jay comes here and wants to bring all his resources, he's flying all of his people here. That's a lot of money. So it's of course he's not going to have huge payout meets over here, but I think it's a change that needs to happen and is slowly starting to happen. And I mean, to touch back on Dave Tate, Look, I like my total 2017. I want more. Zeus has a respectable total too, but we're not top 10 lifters. And we both were on Dave Tate's podcast partly because of the entertainment aspect, talking the shit. Like that's not an example of powerlifters that like, hey, talk your shit. I don't know what is. Like it gets you recognized. And I'm not saying I do it for recognition, but it's making the sport grow. It's catching eyes. So it's proving it's working. We should be implementing this everywhere.
Yeah, and it brings it back to like when CT Fletcher first blew up and he was talking about I walk into the warm-up room and which one of you motherfuckers is coming in second? Like it's like,
Yeah.
dude, fuck. Like and also like that psychological warfare, man, like if you don't have a mind of steel trap, dude, that shit could get in your head. That shit talk could get in your head and you start doubting yourself and you start, oh, fuck, maybe this guy is like better than me. And then that's it. And then that chink in your armor, dude, you're done.
Well, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it more challenging and less likely to know who's going to really win. Because if someone like, there's this one power lifter, in John Hack's weight. Well, John Hack's 90 now, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when he was 82 and a half, I'm pretty sure when he was 82 and a half, there's this power lifter, Drake Stevens. Drake Stevens is a beast. He's so slept on. He's only got like 2,000 followers, I think, but he's so strong. And like for a while, he wasn't that far from like John, like depending on who's hitting lifts. Who knows if Drake talks some shit and got in John's head, something could have happened. Something could have been different, you know? And that's the thing. Like, yeah, you can have these lifters that are strong, but are they strong enough to take that criticism? You know, it comes back to those like calling the high squats. If you can't accept someone trying to be nice and tell you your squats high, how you gonna take someone talking shit on your lifts, even if they are good, you know? And it's really gonna make or break some people. And I think that's why it hasn't really switched. I think people are afraid. Um, and that's not trying to throw shade at anyone, but I think it really comes down to like you have to have that moment where you look at yourself and it's like, I know I'm good, but am I good enough to talk to shit and then back it up? Because anything can happen in this sport. It one lift can change everything. So a lot of people, I think they don't want to look a fool, and I get it. No one wants to look dumb, but if that's a sacrifice I have to make, where I got to eat my words sometimes, just to help the sport grow, and I'll do that. That's people are gonna forget in a week anyway.
Yep.
It's social media. People forget everything in a week. So if I look like a jackass at a meet because I lose, even though I said I was gonna win, whatever. I'll be back for another one. I'll win the next one. People just gotta brush it off the shoulder, and I think they're just too scared to have that conversation with themselves right now.
Yeah, and it's a big risk to take, right? Because when it doesn't pay off, you have to be willing to endure that fucking warfare that is going to come over the internet, and you're just going to get
Mhm.
buried in shit. And you have to be able to just be like, all right, like on to the fucking next one, But some people, I mean, like you said with the criticism, some people can't even handle objective criticism from people. Where it's like, look, man, that was high. It doesn't. I have nothing personal against you. It's just it is what it is. And then like that
Yeah,
person decides to retaliate in a way that's like really really fucking weird, where they're defending something that is like almost in my mind indefensible. And it's like, well, how far are you going to get then? I mean, with that mindset, you're not going to get very far, and you're just showing all those chinks in your armor right now. It's like, now I'm going to buckle down and talk even more shit. Like, so
yeah.
like you said, like now I'm really going to go after you. But speaking of like all these weights that you've lifted so far, what's a big kind of long-term goal that you have in the sport? Is it a single lift goal? Is it a total goal? What are you thinking here for your long-term goal?
Single lift. I want to squat 1,000 in the sleeves in the 308 class. Andrew House just did it, and it it was a lot, way over 1,000. I think it was like 1,036. But um, just squat has always. I used to hate it, and then it became my favorite. And I just kept seeing progress, and I don't know. Deadlifts are overplayed. People love it. It's the glamour look, the glamour lift to me. They hold it at the top. Oh, I'm so cool. Okay, good job. Bench, it's like there's kind of a cap what you can do raw. Julius has the best bench raw. TD Smash has the best full power bench, 717. But like you don't see anything too close. Like Colton's bench he just did of 600 was insane because it was so fast. But like to me, that doesn't seem attainable. I'm like, I'm not gonna bench six. I'll probably get to mid fives. But squat, I just don't feel like I have a limit, and I really have set the goal of before I step away from the sport competing, I need to at least take a crack at 1,000 sleeves. And I want to, and I wanted to be in the 308 class. I don't want to be over that because before is Andrew, I think only six people squatted over 1,000 in sleeves, and they've all been like 360 pounds and up. Ironically enough, the lightest one was Craig Foster, my man down in Florida. But yeah, it's a number that I think doesn't get enough respect. I mean, you're putting 1,000 pounds on your back and standing up with it. Like, I don't think there's a bigger feat of strength than a squat.
Now, with that, do you have any caveats to that? Like, do you want like I want this 1,000 pounds, I want to walk it out, or does it not matter to you? Mono lift, fuck it, just 1,000 pounds to depth, three whites.
Mono, or walkout. I mean, I prefer mono, but the only things that have to be is 308 class and in sleeves. I don't care if it's a mono or walkout. I don't care if I have to do it in Ireland at an ABS meet or here in the States. I don't care what fed. I will attempt it at some point before I'm done in sleeves. And God given me the right, I'll stand up with it too. But and get three whites, at least two white lights now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Now, do you have any aspirations on doing any crossover events? Maybe like a like anything equipped? Do you have any aspirations to that? Maybe as you get older, maybe a little bit more beat up, or is it kind of like when you're done type of thing?
I don't really know. I'm big on never say never. So like, if there's one thing I could definitely see me doing, it's wraps. Um, but equipped, I have people in equipped that I'm friends with. I wouldn't be opposed. My issue is I'm already cut for time. I can't spend another hour in the gym putting on and off suits and like driving to where all my equipped friends are because like there's none really like that local to me that I could do that with. Um, like I work out by myself with what I'm doing. Um, so I haven't really thought about it seriously, but never say never. You know, I love the sport, so if it keeps me going, we'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. With you being a coach, seeing kind of like behind the curtain on the other side of things, when athletes come to you for help and for coaching, what do you see like is there one mistake that sticks out like a sore thumb that is impeding their success? Maybe like they're going too heavy too often, maybe it's sleep, maybe it's diet. Is there one variable that you can pick out that you've seen amongst the people that you've coached that has been a kind of Achilles heel for progress?
Uh, I guess I would have to break down the mentality, but not how they feel about lifting. It's like the comparison. Social media makes it hard. I feel um, there's there are some people that use social media to fuel them. They see people like Ashton or Jesus, Ross, John, all them, and it fuels them. They're like, I want to be that strong. But a large majority do see it and they're like, I'm never gonna be able to do that. Why would I even compete? Um, or they won't give themselves grace or credit for their lifts when they hit a PR because they're like, well, yeah, I benched, 314, but people in my weight class are benching 420. Like, okay, you're not where they are. You can get there. You just have to work on yourself and focus on your lifts and not other people's. And I think that's the only issue with a lot of people getting into the sport is, it's good they see powerlifting at the top level and that draws them in, but they just need to take a step back and realize like you're not going to be that right away. This is not something like a lot of things in today's world. there's instant gratification. Social media, whatever you need. The doom scrolling, you're getting that dopamine hit. Even with TV series now, like most of the time they drop them all at once, so you can just binge it all. You get that instant gratification and know what the ending is, and that's cool in its own right. But at the same time, it takes away like the idea of like there being a goal. Like Walking Dead as a TV show example. When that first started, you wanted to know how it was going to end. You would tune in every week on time because you wanted to know, and it made it that much better or that much more of an impact when something happened in the show that was like groundbreaking or changing the whole course of the series. Now people won't really care, not just for that show, but if it's released right away, they talk about it for a week and they're done. um, Lifting is not something that you can just pick it up and be where you want to be right away. You have to put in those seasons. You have to every week keep going. When shit changes in your season, in your series, whatever you want to use as an analogy, you have to keep pushing for it to get to wherever your goal is. You can't expect it right away, and a lot of people do because of how the world is shaped now. And I think that's what's killing a lot of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people see the genetic elite and then they might listen to interviews with them. People like Julius Maddox, where he's like, I was benching 500 raw, not even knowing I was benching 500 raw, like
Yeah.
easy, like when I first came in. And it's like people hear that and they're like, oh, well, I can't do that. Like I'm screwed. Like that's it for me then. Or they'll try to fast track themselves there, whether it's with like drugs or like the fucking tightest elbow wraps or their fucking hips just shooting off the bench. And it's like that opens up Pandora's box for like injuries and things. Like powerlifting is a long-term success sport, I
Hmm.
think. And social media is not indicative to that at all.
Yeah. Not one bit. And I mean it. And look, there's going to be those outliers that are crazy strong, but I think a lot of people also don't give credit to themselves with how strong the mind can be when you have like any type of like determination to do something. You're really determined and like rooted in your belief that you can do it. You can do it. It might take you a while, but just because you're seeing someone saying, "Oh, I started off benching 5," okay, good for them. They're not you. They haven't had the life trauma or experiences or path that you have had. So you can only judge like success off of yourself. Other people, they might have had it easy. They might not have had it easy. You don't know, but you can't compare it to yourself because it's two different things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, your calendar stays full, Matt. You do a lot in the sport. What do you do outside of the sport? Something that helps you like unwind or maybe like a hobby? What are you doing when you're not giving back to the sport or competing yourself?
Sleeping. Nah. Just honestly hanging out with um my best friend, his wife and my niece and nephew. Um, Hanging out with my cousins when I can. Watching wrestling with them. Going to concerts with friends. Trying to live a normal life. And look, if you want to be good in the sport, you're not going to have a normal life all the time. I'm blessed that the people in my corner that aren't in the sport understand. Hey, when it's prep time, I might not see you as much, but that doesn't mean anything. And we pick up like everything was the same. Um, but that's how I usually get my you know decompressed time from the sport. And then it used to be Pokemon too. I was into Pokemon cards again. Got back into that. That was fun, but then that got stressful, and I'm like, I'm done with that.
Yeah. Now, being a big pro wrestling fan. Now, a lot of people get into it the same way I did, which like for me, I was probably like fucking 7 years old. It saw something on basic cable when SmackDown was on UPN, and like
Yeah.
I didn't even have the channel to watch Raw. I didn't even have USA Network. We were too poor, and I just came across it and was just instantly hooked. So, what got you into pro wrestling in the first place?
Man, so my earliest memory of pro wrestling was my mom had a friend that sometimes I would like go hang out with her, my mom's friends' kids, and just hang out there. Um, and they had the wrestling action figures like WCW and stuff like that. And they watched WCW. They didn't watch WWE. So I saw like Sting, and everything, and the NWO, and I'm like, this is cool. But I was a kid. I didn't know what it was on. I didn't know what it was called. Nothing. So I just once I stopped hanging out with them, I stopped watching it. But my pop, he watched Monday Night Raw and SmackDown all the time, and I got into it in like I got officially into it in '04. Um, and I started following with the whole Cena working towards the titles. I think '04. I didn't get to watch WrestleMania 20, but I knew you had Benoit in that triple threat. You had Eddie fighting for the title, and I just remember like the Monday after watching that with my pop, and like he loved Chris Benoit and Eddie, so seeing them win was huge, and I just made it a thing where I'd always watch it with him. And then WrestleMania 21 was the first WrestleMania or pay per view that I watched when Cena won the belt and when Batista won the belt. And I remember making a bet with my pop. I was like, Batista's beating Triple H. I was like, there's no way. And he was a big Triple H guy. So he was like, no. Like Triple H is losing 2 WrestleManias in a row. It's not happening. So I won like $50 from my pop as a kid. So that was cool. That kind of I was like, oh, I can do this. But yeah, I just fell in love with it after that, and it never died. I mean, it was hard during the PG era, but I watch it. If I miss it, I watch the clips. I just it's my thing. I wanted to do it. I trained for it a little bit. In 2018, the schooling was just too expensive for where I was in life, and now I'm just you know I'm too beat up. I couldn't do it. I would try if I had a chance, but if I had to go into a school again, I'd break my ankle for sure.
No, where did you train?
So it was. I think they were called Hard Knocks. It was up in Harrisburg. So every Sunday, me and my buddy Darian Hardaway, um, we would take that drive. We would leave at like I want to say 3 or 4 in the morning to get there on time. We get there to their like dungeon shed area. We would build the ring, run around the ring, run the ropes. There's no AC, there's no heat. It was brutal, taking bumps. It was a couple months, like I think it was 6 months or whatever. And I loved it. I loved it so much. But it was the travel and the price monthly. I was like, I just can't do it anymore. But
Did you ever end up doing any shows?
no, I worked shows like helping out, but I never got to be in the ring, sadly. Would love to. I still would love to. I wouldn't I could do like one spear. Someone call me. Like I'll do a spear or I'll even take a spear. I'll do an extreme match. I don't care. Tell me what you want me to do. If it gives me a chance, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You gotta take opportunities when they present themselves.
Also, something big that is missing from wrestling now that is being upheld in my mind by one person is the role of the manager, right? I mean, Paul Heyman is kind of single-handedly holding that role. And back in the day, I mean, you had all kinds of managers, dude, like freaking Mr. Fuji. You had Jimmy the Heart or the Mouth of the South. Like, there's a ton of managers, so that's definitely also an option in a lost art form in pro wrestling that I feel like could be brought back in a really big way. Um, or also like the little guy, big guy angle when you have like Enzo and Cass, or like Brian Kendrick and Ezekiel Jackson. Like, I think that's something really cool that I think is also missing from wrestling. Is I really always like the little guy, big guy angle too.
Yeah. Well, it's because it gives you that diversity, you know?
Yep.
You get to see different move sets because the big guy's always tossing around the little guy as a partner, and they do some creative things. So I think that is something that I would like to see again. But the big guys have kind of fizzled out. I mean, look, it's for the better of the health that they make sure these guys aren't on copious amounts of steroids. But if you watch wrestling in the mid 2000s and compare it to now, you can tell that they're no longer on steroids. And that's not taking a shot at anyone. They're still in great shape, but like you only can get so big when you're on the road 300 days out of a year. wrestling almost every night because if you're not wrestling live, and they're not doing live shows, they're training, they're practicing, they still gotta hit the gym. They have to do meal preps or have someone do that for them, which is difficult when you're traveling every day. So they only can get so big, you know? And,
Yeah.
they look great. Like, Braun Breaker's huge, Roman's still huge, but if you who was it? Braun Breaker was in the ring with someone else, an old wrestler, and, like, even though it was an old wrestler, you could tell the difference, and I was like, "He's not that big." Like, he's not. But right now, he looks it because there's no one really bigger. But if you put Braun Breaker in the ring years ago next to even Chris Benoit, you'd be like, "Bro, you're out of shape." And he's not, but that's just the difference. Like, I think now there's not that many big guys because they kinda can't be that big guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it would be good to see that come back and the manager role too. Paul Heyman's killing it, but he's definitely got a monopoly on it right now, and I think that would be nice to see a manager role again.
Yeah, I mean, even someone like Eddie Guerrero, who is like 5'6" and as white as a house. I mean, and it
Yeah,
was said that he was sober for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years before he passed, but like just the residual of all of it, all the trauma, all the drugs, being on the road, like all that just added up, compounded into such like an early fatality. Like it was so early and so like avoidable, but like unfortunately growing pains, right? Like that's unfortunately how we learn. So like it sucks
yeah,
that, some people have to sacrifice so much, and in this case, their life, for us to make better decisions down the road. But unfortunately, that's kind of just how life goes.
yeah. Look, we're all human at the end of the day, and we only are as smart as the mistakes our ancestors made, you know? Like, the people before us, they have to fuck up for us to make progress. Sadly, it's just how the world works, you know?
Yeah,
Um, but it's just an example of, when you make those changes, that's how you make sure the people that had to give their life for that, they still live on, you know?
yeah,
Eddie's still talked about to this day. I mean,
yep.
I I remember Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit's deaths, I cried for as a kid. I don't cry at deaths, but theirs I did because it was like they were just these figures that, again, I was so tied to. Like, this is I love this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a shame when people have to lose their life to be, I guess, a martyr in a way for a better life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that match they had when they brought ECW back for the one night stand, I think it was 2005, and they had Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. I mean, it was just magic, dude. Just
Yeah,
magic, man. They were so fucking good. Both of them were just so damn good, dude. I mean, it was
yeah,
crazy. It's so crazy.
yeah. It was. I love that, man. I love ECW. The the one night stand,
Yeah.
Boo and Tina.
Yep. Yeah, Rob Van Dam, dude, Edge interfering in that, just like being the ultimate dickhead like he is. Like it's
Mhm.
so good, dude. It's all so good. I feel like it took a little bit of a dip, as they kinda like I don't want to say kind of scurried to find stars, but I mean, honestly, after Cena left, is kind of hard, during that time where he left, where there was almost like a void for a really big star because Roman wasn't being received as the guy. No, in WWE was
Yeah,
pushing him to be that.
it was it was WWE's own doing. I mean, it's one of those things you get comfortable. They were comfortable. They didn't have competition. They had the little bit where TNA was really hot, but it still wasn't enough. And then Hulk Hogan, I'm still conspiracy theory. I think WWE wanted Hulk Hogan to go there to bury TNA because once he went there, it went to shit. Um, RIP though. Um, but yeah, in the PG era when Cena was kind of gone, they didn't have anyone. It was just their own demise of they had such a good thing going, they didn't think, "Well, what about when this ends?" And that's all of us. None of us think about, you know, afterward. Um, and that's hard to think about sometimes, but that's a prime example of them not doing it, and it bit them in the ass. Like, they were really bad during PG time. It was tough. Anyone that complains now about Triple H and how he's running things, I get so mad because I'm like, "You weren't there, all right? You think Vince would be better Like, do you forget the things he booked? Come on now. Like, it drives me nuts because it was so bad. But they had chances for stars. I mean, the people won Daniel Bryan and they didn't take it. They gave him the title win and then basically took it away. Um, Dolph Ziggler should have been bigger. The Miz should have been bigger and not taken away from his 2 Grand Slam championships, but, like, he should have been a bigger star back then. Yeah, they just missed the mark on a lot of people because they didn't wanna close that chapter, and then they
Yeah.
forced Roman, and they realized you can't force someone down our throats, but
Yep. Yep. Yeah, especially with Dolph Ziggler. That was a huge fumble, dude, because you want to talk about a guy that has it all and can do it all. It's Dolph. I mean, the dude
oh, yeah.
looks the part, acts the part. His selling is phenomenal. His ring psychology is good. I mean, I don't see any faults in the guy. I have no idea how he was not a multi-world champion. I mean, and he dropped the belt under like the most fucking unfortunate circumstances. You know, that
Mhm.
concussion just derailed his entire career. Kind of like Finn Balor for a little bit, right? He got
Yeah,
that shoulder injury with Rollins, and then it was like his career was kind of like derailed a little bit after that.
yeah, it was a shame, um, but yeah, Dolph, he should have been a lot bigger. Even I'll say John Morrison too. He should have been bigger. There's a lot of people, but it just, they for whatever reason they didn't think it was the time. I feel like a lot of people that are too good at selling though don't really get the push because it's like, all right, you're gonna make who we want to be good look good. So
Yeah,
why would we make you look good?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a different time now. Luckily, I like where WWE's going. I know a lot of people are hating on it. There's some stuff that is annoying, but I don't think it's really in their control. Like Monday Night Raw is horrible. Well, that's because of all the ads, and
yeah,
that's Netflix. That's not on I mean, it kind of is because they signed the deal, but like the matches are entertaining. They're usually good matches. The vignettes are usually good. I think one thing WWE could do, uh, not that they'll ever see or hear this, but I really think it would be beneficial if they stopped doing as many vignettes on live TV and moved it to social media. Because if you're just scrolling and you see a wrestling match and you're not a wrestling fan, you don't care. You're probably gonna be like, "Oh, that's stupid." But if you see a vignette and you see someone cut a promo from the heart, you might get drawn in and be like, "What is this about?" And then you see it's wrestling, you're like, "All right, let me see, let me follow a little bit," and it could draw them even more fans than they have, and that's crazy to think. But like, to think of all the promos that already are like huge on social media just from where they resonate. Like Dolph Ziggler again, when the one where he's talking about you can give and give and give. I see that on TikTok all the time as an audio behind people's gym stuff or other edits. And if WWE would like realize that and be like, let's put our promos just on social media, I think it would drive numbers for both live shows and their social media because then if you're a fan, you're going to have to follow the social media because if you want to see the shit talking, you got to go there. You're not going to see it on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. You're only going to see matches. And I think that's a good transition that maybe they'll realize. But that's just something I see that I'm like, I think that would send them even higher to the next level.
yeah. Being able to utilize social media a little bit more and leverage it, right? I think
Mhm.
also something that they have struck gold on that they better not fuck up is Danhausen, right? So he's fucking gold character. Funny story about him is when I went to go get trained in 2015, he was actually supposed to be our roommate way back then. And the
He
dude
would have
that
taken your
was
teeth.
yeah, the dude that was in charge of everything, because like we essentially this was like their second class ever. So in the first class, like almost everyone dropped out. I think there was only like 3 graduates, and one of them was a ref. So like only 2 active wrestlers actually graduated from the first class. So they still didn't really like know exactly what they wanted to do. And so they just like exchanged everyone's emails and was like, here, figure it the fuck out. So then there was like 3 or 4 of us that got together. We're like, okay, we're going to live together and here's where we're going to live. And we had someone facilitating all of that. And Danhausen was supposed to be the fourth person in our group, in our apartment. And the dude that was facilitating everything completely fucked him over and just like like kicked him out and like fucking just completely fucked him over before he even had a chance to get to the school. And I remember he made like a really long social media post about it not too long after it happened, and it was really funny. But that guy is gold, man. His character is so
Mhm.
good, and they better not mess it up, dude. And it's funny because
Yeah,
when he debuted, a lot of the people didn't know who he was, so they were booing the crap out of him. And
yeah,
it's like, no, 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 give it time. This guy's funny as hell. He's money.
yeah, and it turned quick.
Yeah.
It turned quick, and he took it like a champ because he said on that, vignette he did with was it Adam Pearce, he's like, "I came out to, roars and cheers." It's like, "No, dude, you were booed," but because he's so, like, in his Danhausen universe, it just works, and they're like I think that's when fans were like, "Oh, he's a comedic relief.
Yep.
Let's give him a shot."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been beautiful.
Yeah, because you look at him with like the painted face and stuff, and some people that are unaware might be like, "Is this guy like another Sting?" Like, wait, this guy doesn't look like Sting. He doesn't sound like Sting because Sting's like the guy for that. So,
Yeah,
and he was probably kind of mischaracterized from people that just didn't know who he was.
yeah,
Um, but also something that we touched on was health, and long-term health in powerlifting is extremely hard. It's fucking really hard, from whether it's like you need a fucking CPAP and you don't have one, or like the diet, the body weight, the strain, the blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. So do you manage some of these biomarkers? Like, are you taking blood work? Are you taking your blood pressure? Is this something, do you do preventative kind of care for long-term success in powerlifting?
yeah. I've gotten better with it. I mean, it's all trial and error. When people first start, they're like, "No, I'm fine." Um, but with more aches and pains, I'm realizing I have to be on top of everything. So I have been doing. I'm going on month 3 of blood work every month through Rhyme or Rhythm. I don't know. It's one of those ones. It's an at home thing, which is easy for my schedule.
Hell yeah.
Just slap it on. It draws your blood, and then you send it out, and you get your results online like 4 days. Um, Now that's basic stuff. You should still go actually give blood to, you know, get rid of everything. But that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm tracking my levels. And then I do my blood pressure every week too, which I'm lucky. It's very good. Knock on wood. But yeah, if I could go back in time, I would tell beginner me, do it. Follow it to a T. Make sure you are checking your health. Um, and I would tell that to any of my athletes now too. But it's something that is important. And I hope that continues to get better as well. Um, Especially like I don't know anything about them fully, but I mean, stem cells seem promising to help with powerlifting down the line, just as things become more affordable because powerlifters can't afford stem cells. That's
Yeah.
yeah, I,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing too, man. You start handling these heavy ass weights and stuff, and you start, that like aura of invincibility kind of overcomes you, and you're kind of like, shit, man, I'm doing this. Nothing can hurt me. And
yeah,
especially something like high blood pressure usually can be like a silent killer, like, because you most of the time you're gonna feel pretty fine. I mean, you
yeah,
might just brush it off, but the long-term effects, I mean, every day your just kidneys are just taking an ass kicking, your EGFR is just plummeting, and you feel fine until you don't, right?
yeah, yeah. It's just I feel like it's just like the mentality people have in powerlifting. It's all or nothing. It's balls to the wall, and it's one of those things. You know, it's not an issue until it's an issue, and that's not the way it should be. It should be let's try to prevent any issues from coming up as we continue to push. Because the body's not we're not meant to be lifting what we lift every week. You know, my knees and hips hate me. I swear I'm a inch shorter since starting powerlifting. Um, but yeah, it's an important aspect for sure.
And speaking of kind of like preventative, do you do any cardio?
So in the summer, I like to go hiking or just walking on trails. Uh, Play a little Pokemon Go, stuff like that. Um, in the winter, I'm definitely slacking on it. We have weird winters. Sometimes it's really cold or it's raining all the time. I need to be better at cardio during that time because I can't do it inside. Walking on a treadmill or doing a bike, I need to see things. If I'm just looking at a wall or seeing people pass me as they walk by to go lift, I can't do it. But cardio is definitely important. I don't know. It's the more your body gets used to lifting weights, the harder it is to manipulate your weight just off of lifting weights. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to add something else that is a shock to your body. So cardio is definitely something that we implement.
And something that I've had a few people ask me about as far as like questions for people on the podcast is jumps, especially for people like you that have a massive squat. What do your jumps typically look like in training?
Um, well, hold on, Paul.
All right,
So
there we go.
yeah, back with the jumps. It's usually just plate, plate, plate. Um, until we get to about 7, and then we start taking smaller jumps. For like squat and deadlift too, just plate, plate, plate until about 6. Um, but meet day is probably like 15 to 20 kilo jumps, like for attempts. That's the best for squat and deadlift. Bench is different, but um, it also just comes down to how you feel. I think the biggest thing is people get too tied to numbers, um, and think that just because they hit a certain point, this number has to be their jump or attempt every time. It has to move this way every time. That's not the case. There's so many variables on how a weight will move. They need to be self-aware enough that if you're not feeling great and if 3 plates didn't move as fast as it should, maybe don't jump right to 4. Maybe take 3 in a yellow. Um, so that's the real thing to it. Like on the majority, it's reds, but I also listen to my body. If I need to take smaller jumps, I will, because I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah. And what about for your warm-ups? Are you doing any stuff with like bands and mobility or anything like that? Are you just kind of hopping under the bar?
Um, so bands I use for like pull aparts and stuff to stretch out like the pecs and get the shoulders stretched. PVC pipes I use too. And then a lot of like uh hip mobility stretches. I do goblet squats too, and like a hole at the bottom just to open up the hips and everything. But yeah, I spend about 20, 30 minutes stretching before lifting. So I I used to get under the bar right away, but again, as you get older or grow in the sport, your body can't do that no more. So it's better. It's a lot better to stretch first.
Yeah. What about the role of accessories? I talk to some people that say, "Dude, I want to squat more, so I squat more." And they're like Chico volume, big time, just load it up. I don't do any accessories at all. And then you have some people that are like really big on them, like look at it as a preventative measure or a muscle building measure. So where do you stand on kind of accessories in your program?
I think they are very valuable. Um, there are going to be outliers that don't have to do that many. Um, but everyone has a weakness. And while, yes, you can work on that weakness in the compound movement, you can get more fine tuned with it in the accessories, you know? Um, so I think they're very important if you want to really get better and not just strength wise, like technique wise. Because you can hit big numbers, just strength, brute strength, but you're going to hit a wall. And when you do, the only way you're passing that is with technique. So I think accessories are good because if you do them at the same time, then you're strengthening both. You don't have to play catch up once it's time to work on technique. So I love accessories and I push them. Um, it's one of those things you just gotta listen to your body and know if you can push it that day or not, but still get the reps in. Like I do hack squat and leg press after every squat or deadlift day. And there's days where it might be 2 plates because I'm just toast. But then there's days where I'm loading 4 or 5 plates on the hack squat because I'm still feeling good and I want to get that growth and I want to, maybe I'll work on being in the hole, pausing a little better, work on different stances. That way I'm strong in all aspects in the quad. So I think they're very valuable.
Now, do you have a meet currently planned out for 2026?
I have 2, May 30th, East Coast Classic. It's the rubber match for me and Zeus. So that'll be fun. It's in his hometown and my birthday weekend, so something's got to give. Um, and then I'm hoping to compete in November in Ireland, for their Grand Prix over there. in Limerick. I just gotta get the flight stuff planned for that.
Yeah. So in May, that's a big meet. That's a big bragging rights meet for
Hmm.
you. So do
Hmm.
you have a message for Zeus if he gets his ears on this podcast? Do you have some words that you would like to tell him?
If he gets his big ears on this podcast, I'm sure he will. Uh yeah, it's a different me. I mean, he saw a different version of me at the Rumble too. And while I'm still gonna talk that shit to him, it's I don't think he's prepared for who I am now. I'm not that brash 25, 26 year old from the first American Pro. And I know my weaknesses, and he's not going to be able to break any link in my armor. Um, I love the guy, even though he is way too tall and way too weak on squats. Usually I like to be around people that are strong on squats like me, but it'll be a fun one. And I can't wait to have a cigar with him after I beat him in his hometown.
Some choice words, man, and I love to fucking hear it. So plug your social media, your coaching, plug where people can find you and follow along in your journey, especially for the rubber match versus Zeus, because this is the meet to end all meets here between the two of you. So plug all your stuff, man.
Yeah, Instagram is Delco_Jesus. TikTok is Delco Jesus. I post sometimes on there. That's like a fun one. The coaching, I have links in my bio to fill out inquiry form. And then I usually get back within 48 hours. If you want to spot and load, if you're on East Coast, or if you want us to spot and load for you, Delco Spotting Crew on Instagram. Uh, just email. It's Delco Spotting Crew at gmail.com. And I usually get back very fast on that. And then that's everything for getting out to me. I did want to touch on one thing, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
Um, so this weekend, yesterday, I was at to dive into my life a bit. I was at a funeral for a high school friend, who is no longer here, by his choice. His name is Anthony Nguyen. He was a great guy, and I just want to leave it with: if you are hurting seriously, you're listening to this, talk to someone. Um, it's easy to be that smile in the moment with people and help them, but you got to help yourself. And it's never the answer to go out that way. So definitely know your worth, and it does get better. It's hard. It's not linear, but it gets better, and people will miss you if you leave. So please don't.
Beautiful. I completely agree with that. Very admirable. Um, I want to say, obviously my condolences to your friend. It's something that's very hard to go through. But good on you for creating that network for people to reach out, because I like to say we're all strangers until the first sentence, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
my man, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone go follow his Instagram, follow along. We want to see the rubber match. So, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro.
I'll see you.